It's the economy, stupid. Bill Clinton never actually said this, but the idea that economic growth is the way to make people happy and get re-elected for politicians has really been the zeitgeist for the last 30 years. That may be the zeitgeist, but is it true? What we're going to do today is have a look at the data and find out whether the Social Progress Index confirms that it's the economy, stupid. Let's start with the basics. Economic growth is about increasing your level of national income, usually known as GDP, gross domestic product. And we compare how different countries, large and small, perform by comparing their GDP per capita, that is, per head of population. Now, what we want to know is, does economic growth translate into better lives for people? And the Social Progress Index helps us do that, because it looks at all the things that make up quality of life, outcomes in lived experience, in health, education, rights, and so on. And then it adds that all up to give us a score for each country. So we can look at economic growth and social progress side by side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put it on a chart here with social progress, that's the real quality of life on the vertical axis, higher is better, and GDP per capita, so economic performance, on the horizontal axis, further to the right, is higher. Now, the richest country in the world at the moment is Singapore, with a GDP per capita of more than $130,000. And the poorest country in the world at the moment is the Central African Republic, where GDP per capita is just a little over $1,000. And yes, look, social progress is much higher in Singapore than in the Central African Republic. It is the economy, stupid. Well, maybe. Let's look at two other countries. Estonia's GDP per capita is just a third of Singapore's, but it has the same level of social progress. Malawi's GDP per capita is just a little better than the Central African Republic's, but social progress, real quality of life, is much, much better. And what this shows is that, yes, the economy is very important. Poor countries don't have high levels of quality of life. They don't have high levels of social progress. But GDP on its own is no guarantor of quality of life. All of the countries below the line, places like Egypt, Turkey, Russia, Guyana, Qatar, are not doing a good job at turning their wealth into social progress. On the other hand, Norway, Finland, Costa Rica, Jamaica and Kyrgyzstan are all squeezing lots of social progress out of each dollar of GDP per capita. Simply said, GDP is not destiny. It's not just the economy, stupid. And America's story actually offers a cautionary tale. Bill Clinton, of course, was elected in 1992, and that was where the US economy was just starting a long bull run of rising GDP ever since. But all that economic growth has done little for the American people. From 1990 to 2020, the US sank from 8th in the world in social progress to 31st in the world in 2020. Economic growth on its own is not enough to guarantee better lives. We need inclusive and sustainable economic growth with social progress. Thanks for watching. All the data are available here, and do like and subscribe, and see you again.